the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Live with Russell Smith and FANRUN Sports. Make sure you lock in on the FANRUN Sports YouTube channel as well and watch The Drive from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. I'm on The Chase from 1 to 3 right before The Drive. And you can also check out more information on this show on chasethomaspodcast.com. You can read me with my newsletter and all my Tennessee writing at sportsrenaissanceman.com. And you can help this show in an easy way. Give us a thumbs up and comment below on this episode if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or however you get your podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're a first-time listener, and also leave us a 5-star rating and write us a review. Helps other people find the show, and it helps this very show continue to grow. Russell, as we continue on here, yes. I think it's one of the more interesting things right now is seeing where Tennessee fans are at with the receiver stuff. And we've reached the point in the offseason, Russell, where there are Tennessee fans, and I love you all dearly, but there was there's an appetite where it's like Amari Jefferson had his best practice today. And I'm like, this is no offense to Amari Jefferson, but Amari Jefferson was not in the cards to be a big time contributor in 2025. Someone who did not play last year at Alabama, had the hip thing. Takes a while potentially to come back from that. I mean, look at Tyree Weathersby, how long that's taken him to be a real factor at strong side defensive end after he came on early as a true freshman 2 years ago. I just look at this and I'm like, it's now August 5th. I have been just dismayed at the number problem that Tennessee has at receiver for 8 months, Russell. And I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see 8 months later, everyone's like, if Chris Brazel's not out there, we have a number problem. And it's like, yeah, that was the problem going into this season with 7 scholarship receivers. Like, this has been looming for 8 months. Like, we knew this was going to be a tightrope that they were going to have to walk. If you're going to go in with 7 scholarship guys, like, this is something you run into. And I said on our show here the last couple of weeks of like, if you get 2,000 snaps between Brazel and Matthews and Staley, of course you're fine. Like, I 100% agree with that line of thinking. That's what you got in 2021. Those 3, Javonte Payton, Velus Jones, and Cedric Tillman, got around 2,000 snaps. And you're fine. You didn't rotate. They were healthy.
Yeah.
Every year since has been injury problems galore at receiver. Every year since. So 3 of the 4 years, you've not been able to get away with that. You had Brew McCoy go out for the season in the South Carolina game in 23. You had Squirrel last year banged up all year. You had Dante Thornton get hurt and knocked out of the season against Mizzou in 2023. You had 2022 Cedric Tillman, who was on pace to have a breakout year. He gets the ankle thing at Akron, and he has tightrope surgery. He's not the same the rest of the way. Like, you haven't been able to avoid this for the last 3 years. So I just thought it was one of those things where the ship has sailed. Like, I was not one of those spring portal guys. Like, we got to go get the BYU kid, Keelan Marion, or we got to go get Brady from Cal. And I'm like, no, the guys you needed to get are long gone. They're not entering the portal now. The mistakes have been made. This is kind of where we're at. And I've just been living in 12 personnel, man. Like, it's just, we're going full Ethan Davis and Miles Kitteman this fall. Like, it's just, you're going to see a whole lot more of what we did from Oklahoma on, right?
I think you'll see a mix, man. I'm interested to see what these changes are that have been hinted at. You remember Nico hinted at it before spring practice, and Halsley kind of hinted at it. I think even Heupel earlier this week kind of said, I think he's got some tricks up his sleeve, and you have to, right, man? You have to continue to evolve. You have to have some different potential answers for the things that are going to be thrown at you. I can't remember where I read this, but I feel like somebody reported that, maybe we'll see more tighter formations and stuff, which is interesting because that's certainly not been the norm here under Josh Heupel. But I think you'll see some different things. I was not terribly concerned about the wide receiver thing back in the winter. I mean, sure, I would have liked to see more depth there, more players. You want that at all positions, right? But I kind of felt like, we don't rotate much. There's always guys that don't get to play. I mean, you had Nimrod and Leacock and Caleb Webb, like all those guys jumped out. The thing that concerns me is not so much the lack of depth, but the lack of experience, because we're probably going to see Radarius Jackson this year. We're probably going to see Travis Smith Jr., might see Joakim Dotson. That's fine. I'm excited about all those guys, but they're true freshmen. And I don't know that we've ever really seen a true freshman excel in this offense, but nobody's really been forced to yet. They might be forced to this season. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting and exciting in a way to me to see some of those freshmen out there. But yeah, man, it is kind of alarming. It feels like a recurring theme for wide receiver soft tissue injuries in the preseason. Like I feel like there's been a lot of hamstring pulls.
Mike last year.
Mike Matthews last year. A couple of guys last year. I think Brassel was dealing with some of this last year.
Yeah.
Guys were just never healthy, and now here it is again. So I don't know. Like, is that just bad, rotten luck? Are we running the receivers too hard? I don't know, but that's something I'd be looking at if I were Josh Heupel, in addition to just plain old recruiting more volume of receivers.
And they knew they had a number problem, right? Like that's why there was the reports of trying to get in on Zachariah Branch, right? Like it wasn't like one of those situations where it was like, oh, like the Nico side of things, I don't agree with most of it. The one thing I do agree with is the receiver part of it. And I am still bullish on Mike, and it's not just because Mike and I went to the same high school back in Georgia. I am biased in my high approval rating of Mike Matthews, but I do think all you needed was one. It seemed like they went big fish hunting for Zachariah Branch, and he ends up at Georgia. All you needed was someone to challenge and give you Chris Brazzell insurance. Or if Chris Brazzell does not make the year two leap, you have another veteran to help out in that regard, where you're not putting all of this on redshirt freshmen and true freshman guys. Whether that was Dane Key, who ended up in Nebraska, outside, like he's an outside guy, big play guy. I think you could that's one I would have wanted to get on. Isaiah Horton went to Oakland. Nope, he's a Tennessee guy. He ends up at Alabama from Miami. CJ Daniels, another Parkview kid who ends up going from LSU to Miami. Kevin Coleman, who was in the Jeff Lebby scheme at Mississippi State last year, he ends up at Mizzou. That's someone you could have gotten involved. He had a good year at Mississippi State last year on the outside. You didn't need like a superstar outside guy. You just needed a veteran to help out Brazzell and these young guys. You needed one more. And it's one of those where I didn't think Tennessee was winning the national title this year anyway. So it's like, I'm not really, and I think Heupel deserves the benefit of the doubt, winning 19 games the last 2 years with below average quarterback play. And the receivers cannot be much worse than what we saw last year outside of Dante Thornton. It's just more of like, it's just kind of a bummer. Like we haven't even got the season started yet. And we're already looking at like, 5 scholarship receivers here right now. And like, is Amari Jefferson going to be able to help us? It's like, Amari shouldn't have to be in this position right now. Like Amari should be like, hey, let me just focus on getting right and getting acclimated to the scheme and everything else. But you're also, we're starving for positive wide receiver buzz of like, Amari's turned the corner. And it's like, come on now. Like it should not fall on Amari here on August 5th.
Well, my hope is that Matthews and Brazzell will take the big second year in the system jump, and that those guys will be fine, and Braylon Staley as well for that matter. But my hope is that these are minor injuries and we're just being super overcautious here. No reason to push these guys. If they had a game Saturday, all those guys would play and be close to 100%, not being able to. I hope that it's just mostly precautionary here. I think part of the great wide receiver freak out of 2025, as this week will forever be known, is it's just we spent an entire offseason worrying about the quarterback situation, who is going to be the quarterback, after Nico left, and the recruitment of Aguilar and all this stuff, that it's like, oh, here's finally something else to talk about. Like, it's finally something has changed a little bit with these injuries that have popped up, and it's just something to talk about. I made this point when I was on Bob Baskerville's show Under Review earlier this week. It's like, to me, quarterback is still a much, much, much bigger problem than wide receiver, because if you don't have anybody to get these guys the ball, like it just doesn't matter. I would much rather have a thin wide receiver room and productive quarterback play than a so-so quarterback and a great wide receiver room. Man, that feels like the meme of the Ferrari up under next to the trailer or whatever under the carport. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm with you. I didn't expect national championship this year. I also didn't expect 8-4. Like, I feel like we should be past that now as a program. Still hoping that's like 9-3 would be a perfectly acceptable season to me, given the Nico drama.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.